Who will win this week's Battle of the Barbacoa? The challenger with their barbacoa fried rice, or Chef PK with his smoked barbacoa tteokbokki? An exciting episode to come with 3 brand new judges.
Give me the horseradish!
Today we do the barbacoa battle. This is going to be legendary. Matt the Challenger brought in his barbacoa fried rice, and I'm going to respond with barbacoa tteokbokki. Barbacoa is super interesting because it originated in the Caribbean as a barbecue or slow cooking method, but now it's been adapted to also use different liquids. So in Matt's case, he does use liquid. In my case, liquid's gonna be on the outside. Now, both recipes are going to use the same cut of beef. In this case, we're using chuck roast. Alternatively, you can use something like beef cheeks, which work really well because of the fatty content. If you're using a big old chunker of chuck roast, make sure you do cut it into manageable pieces. Since each of these pieces is around 1 kilogram's worth, I wanna make sure that this is cut up. And now, since I wanna be super extra with my style of barbacoa, we are gonna be using Rindo, the sous-vide machine, so that way it's nice and tender. Kind of like Rindo. She's not, is she tender? Now, the primary factor of flavor in this is going to be gochujang. Gochujang is this really beautiful, spicy, kind of sweet chili paste. After you figure out how to remove the wrapper, take about 200 grams worth of gochujang and just place it directly on top of your chuck roast. And instead of regular soy sauce, I'm going to be using this beautifully smoked soy sauce. We only need around 30 milliliters of this because it is strong. Next up is around 10 milliliters worth of sesame oil. You just need a splash of that. Finally, grate up around 20 grams worth of brown sugar and just break it up as best as you can directly over that beef. Hit this with a few heavy pinches of salt because it will need it since it is so much beef. Now, in hindsight, instead of trying to work this with your hands and your fingers, you could have made a paste with this in a separate bowl and then just poured it on top, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. And because I'm trying to be super extra with my Korean style barbacoa, this comes next, which it's not as dramatic as I thought it would be. Now, normally I would add grated apple to this style of marinade, but instead I'm going to smoke it with applewood. The applewood is going to give it a really nice finish, and I just want that hint of it. So once you're done smoking out the house and you've extracted as much of that smoke from those chips as possible, make sure you immediately seal this. This already has me so excited right now. I just hope I don't turn on the fire alarms because that's happened before. Luckily this time we didn't have the fire alarms go off, and once all of those wood chips have been exhausted, seal this off and let it hang out just for around 15 or 20 minutes. After those 15 or 20 minutes, we can unveil the smoked chuck roast. Oh God, yes. Oh, that does things to me. After you're done smelling your meat, place it all into a bag, preferably a Ziploc or a freezer type bag. In this case, I'm using a vac seal bag just because they tend to be stronger when you're using it for a sous vide machine. Make sure you remove as much air as possible and then seal it off and press it lightly so this way it spreads out that meat just a bit more. And this is what happens when you go unsupervised in the kitchen. After you're done smacking your meat around just a bit, place it into the bath with Rindo, and this does need to cook for quite a while. In hindsight, this should have cooked for around 24 hours to make it as tender as possible, but instead, I'm gonna go around 8 hours at 167 Fahrenheit. So now for Matt's recipe, his is actually sort of braised rather than sous vide or anything else, but since it's still chuck roast, we can start it now along with the other chuck that I'm making for myself. And then what we can do is turn it down slow and low and just let it hang out until we're ready to serve it, because chuck roast is a tank. Chuck roast will take anything. Now for this version of the barbacoa, we are going to need a very deep sauce pot. Place just a small amount of oil in the pan, keeping in mind that chuck roast or beef cheeks are super fatty, so you don't actually need additional fat. Season this really well on both sides with salt and black pepper. This step is super important. You want to make sure you do season this before we move on to searing it. Once you have it seasoned off, place it to the side so we can get some more mise en place ready. The rest of the mise en place is fairly straightforward. We're going to need 1 large onion, making sure that we dice it and then mince it for this recipe. When we're mincing this onion, we want to make sure that we do chop up any larger bits. You don't have to turn this into a puree or anything like that, just making sure that they are pretty small pieces worth of onion. Next up is some fresh oregano. You want to use the fresh stuff if you have it available, and we only need a few leaves of this. You don't want to go overboard on fresh oregano. Give this a quick chop, making sure that you do chop up some of the bigger pieces and place it to the side. Now for a bit of heat and some extra flavor, I'm using chipotles in a can marinated in adobo sauce. You only need around 3 or 4. You're also going to need around 5 or 6 cloves worth of whole garlic, and around 4 to 5 grams of Chinese 5-spice. Now first up is we're going to be searing this beef very lightly over around a medium heat. We're just trying to create some of that beautiful charring and color on each of those pieces of beef. After we're done searing each and every side, making sure that all of them are seared equally, this is when we're going to add in our garlic, our 5-spice, followed by around 500 milliliters worth of beef stock. You can use a touch of water for this, but beef stock is just better. Add in your adobo chilies with all of that marinade, hit this with your oregano, followed by all of that minced onion. The minced onion is going to give it a ton of flavor and tenderize it while it's cooking. Make sure you do poke this around quite a bit to make sure everything is submerged. Place a lid on this and let this cook on a slow and low heat for around 7 hours. So now what is nice is that since both of those are going, we can get the rest of the mise en place ready. I still need to prep out everything for the fried rice on Matt's side, and I need to prep out the rest of my mise en place, which is a bunch of quick pickles and a few extra goodies for that Now for the fried rice, we are going to need some peas, some day-old white rice, 1 large carrot, some green onions which will actually be garnished, 1 giant chunk of ginger, Worcestershire sauce, mirin, and a touch of sake. You can leave the sake out if you don't want any alcohol. Oh, you're also going to need some eggs to top this thing off. Now we need equal parts mirin, sake, and Worcestershire sauce at around 35 to 40 milliliters each. This is also going to be to taste, so make sure you do taste this as you cook. Now for the ginger, make sure you peel it back, and then we actually need to grate the ginger. Make sure you're using a microplane or a cheese grater or whatever you really have, and you want to grate this into this fine gingery mush. Remove all of the mush from your microplane, making sure you get all that good off of the back of it, and also make sure you try not to lose as much juice as I am with this ginger on the cutting board. The little nub you can save for later. Now for the carrot, make sure you do peel this back completely so it doesn't taste like dirt. Cut this into around 2-inch in length pieces, and then cut these into pretty thin slices. We're not really going for a brunoise or a julienne here, but you want to make sure that it has some texture and the size is similar to the peas that you're going to be using. That way everything kind of has that same mouthfeel going on when you go to bite into this fried rice. Line up everything to the best of your ability and start cutting these into your little pieces of carrot. Place all of your beautifully cut pieces of carrot into your container of choice and set it aside so that way it's fully separated from anything else so we can add these when we need to. Now for the green onion, this is fairly straightforward because it is just going to be a garnish. Cut this however you want. Make sure they're thinner slices of green onion so this way they aren't giant chunkers of green onion. Place this into a container lined with paper towel to keep them nice and dry until you need to garnish with them. All of this mise en place is going to go into this second fridge so this way we can make some room for the other stuff. Now to make some prep for my dish, we're going to need quite a few things for this. First up are going to be these rice cakes or tteokbokkis. They are basically a rice, almost like a noodle in a way, but not really a rice noodle. I don't know how to explain it. They're delicious. They're similar to mochi. Place those in the fridge until we need them. First up is oh, you almost lost it. First up is the red bell pepper. We are going to cut these into slivers, almost like a julienne, and the reason for that is I want the mouthfeel to be kind of consistent all the way throughout each and one of these vegetables. You're only going to need 1 whole bell pepper for this, making sure you remove any of the inside, and then slice this into those nice thin slices. This is kind of what you want them to look like after you're done cutting them. After you're done slicing all of your bell pepper, place this into your container of choice and set those to the side. You want to make sure you're keeping all of these separate just like you did for the fried rice. We're doing the same thing with the carrot, except for the carrot, we're not going to be dicing it, we're going to cut these into those really rough juliennes. You can do a dice on this or a dice on the bell pepper, and feel free to cut this however you really want, but I think the slices are going to end up much nicer as the end result. Once you're done with all of your carrot, place those into your container of choice, place that onto your sheet tray, and you are good to go with your carrot. Next up is some zucchini. I absolutely love zucchini, and I'm so glad we were able to find some decent looking ones for this dish. We're going to cut these exactly like the carrots and the bell peppers, making sure you slice those into nice even slices, and then finally do that rough julienne for all of your zucchini. I ended up only using 1 of the zucchinis because I felt like it was more than enough for what we needed. Once you have everything sliced up, place that into your container of choice and put it onto your sheet tray, so this way all of your mise en place is in one spot. Next up is half a yellow onion. You don't really need too much onion for this because we are going to add ginger and garlic as well for aromatics, so don't overdo it with any of your onion. Place that into your container of choice and set it to the side. Next up is around 2 inches worth of ginger. After you peel your ginger and get that locked and loaded, we are going to slice this the same exact way. The reason why I'm slicing it and not running it through my microplane is because I want that bite of the ginger. When you slice it like this and have bigger pieces while it's cooking, you're still going to have a nice bite of that ginger behind it. Place this into a smaller container of choice and set that to the side and have your ginger good to go. Next up is your garlic. I'm only using around 4 cloves of garlic for this because of the other aromatics, but I am only going to slice this rather than chop it up. You want to get these nice, really thin slices so this way you start biting into it while everything is combined. Place that into your container. I'm not even going to say it. Next up is the green onions. Now, if you are making both
both of these recipes at the same time like I am. In hindsight, you could have gotten away with just the first batch of green onions, but you know, if you're not, you're gonna want some green onions for this.
Now we have some of our prep ready to go that we just did for my recipe, but one of the things that I absolutely love about Korean food is when you sit down, they give you all those pickled dishes and plates that kind of go along with the food. Since I want that multi-dimensional layer of flavor with my dish, I'm going to also do a quick pickle.
For my improvised pickles, I'm using a few Persian cucumbers. I like using the Persian cucumbers for this because they don't have as many big seeds and they tend to be slightly more dense. I'm using a mandolin as well to get these really nice thin slices, but the first batch of slices that I did was just a touch too thin. So I went ahead and adjusted my mandolin to get these nice thicker, thin-ish slices. You don't want them too thick, too thin, just kind of go for what I'm showing. And you're only gonna need around 2 Persian cucumbers for this. You can slice this directly into a container or just ignore the fact that you're shooting them out of the back of the mandolin. And once you're done shooting them all over the place, collect them and place them back into a larger container so this way we can marinate these guys. First, we're going to be dumping in around 2 to 3 grams worth of white sesame seeds, followed by around 5 milliliters worth of sesame oil. And yes, I do have a gallon jug of rice vinegar in which we are using just a splash of rice vinegar, a pinch of sugar, and then a pinch of salt. This is all you really need to get started with your pickles. If you want it spicy, add in a few Korean chili flakes. If you don't have Korean chili flakes, you can just use red pepper chilies. That's going to be totally fine. Give this a good old mix and then give it a taste, making sure it is seasoned to your liking. Mine needed a touch more salt, so I went ahead and added that. Gave it another stir and a taste, and I was pretty happy with this result. Next up is going to be the red radishes. Red radishes are absolutely key here. They add so much brightness, so much color, and so much flavor. We're going to slice these slightly thinner than the cucumbers, so you will have to adjust the mandolin. After you've almost removed all of the flesh off of your fingers using the mandolin on some radishes, to marinate these, I'm using lime juice. Lime juice is going to be the main acid component in this, like the rice vinegar was for the cucumbers. After slicing your limes, juice them directly on top of those radishes. You won't need too much lime juice for this because you don't want to actually saturate everything. I ended up only using 1.5 limes for this, a heavy pinch of salt, gave it a quick stir, making sure everything was coated. After giving it a taste, it needed just a touch more salt because you want it to have this really acidic, salty flavor behind it from the lime and the salt. Throw a lid on this guy, give it a quick stir and a toss, and place that on your sheet tray and go put that into the fridge.
So I just ran into a pretty big problem. The bag on the sous vide opened up while it was hanging out, which means that now this is saturated with water. So we're gonna try to fix this. This is gonna be, these things happen in the kitchen, and now I have to fix this. So here's what we're gonna have to do. This is gonna be a trial at this point. So we're gonna grab a bigger bowl, just something to land in because this is now saturated with water. Seemed to be like a hole on the, yeah, it just opened up on the bottom. Okay, which sucks because now a lot of that marinade is gonna go away with it. So I'm just gonna let it drain out. We're going to, it is currently 3 p.m., which means I was going to use this juice for part of my recipe, and now that that juice is full of water, I can't use it. So let's get rid of this. Now we do have to work with this. Also, my sous vide needs to be cleaned very quickly because now it has juice in it. What should I do? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to re-up on the marinade. Let's just actually see if it's as no, it's still pretty tough because it still needed time, but flavor is spot on. It's really nice still. Oh man, this needs to cook for a lot longer. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go with a shallow pan. This way we can kind of get the marinade going again. Let's place our beef in here. Oh man, I wish this could have gone for like 2 days. Yeah, the flavor good. There's actually a really nice smokiness to it, but now we have to make more marinade because that's not gonna hold up. So I'm gonna grab a bit more gochujang, okay? We're gonna hit it with this. Quite a bit actually. Just do one of these. Yeah, you know, make it happy. Make it super happy. You know, let's just get that, come on. Now, I am also going to have to use this beef stock, just a bit of it, to help the liquid, since now we no longer have liquid with our, that's pretty unfortunate because we lost a lot of the fat content too. Let's see how this comes together. You can see that there's still a good amount of fat in there. Unfortunately, the one with all the water is definitely not going to work out for us, but I have a plan. Gonna be honest, I am glad that it happened now rather than before dinner was being served. Gonna hit this with some more salt. Give this a quick whisk, and then we're gonna pop this onto our beef. Pop this on here, get all that good on there. We'll make this work. We will make this work. This big chunker right here, he needs to be broken up again. So I'm gonna cheat a little
And I'm going to definitely cut these into smaller pieces. So this way, they can cook quite a bit faster than they would if they were bigger pieces. This is gonna be fine. This is gonna be fine. These things happen. To help tenderize it further, I am gonna add another quarter or half an onion too. Just throw it in there, you know? Get all that in there. And then also, you know, why not? Just a splash of rice vinegar. So now with everything in there, let's get this back on the heat and pray to the meat gods. Okay, yeah, hopefully crisis averted, you know? I mean, what are you gonna do at this point besides move forward? And after I brought this to a simmer, I hit this with a giant chunk of butter to replace some of the fat that we had lost initially because butter makes it better. So fried rice will be first. So we're gonna make 3 fried rice for the gremlins outside. And the reason why I'm doing the fried rice first is because the dish that I'm making needs a little more time. So we're gonna do the fried rice first, serve them that, 3 portions of it, and then start plating up the dish that I'm making and then give them that once we're done. So yeah, this is a cooking montage. Thumbs up, let's do this. Grab yourself your wok, make sure it is greased and ready to go and nice and hot. Since I haven't seasoned mine in quite a while, I'm actually removing this oil after it's heated up and added fresh oil directly to this that we're actually going to cook with. Now place in around half of your carrots, followed by your ginger. You want to make sure that both of these are together for this and start cooking those off. Your carrots only need to cook for about 2 minutes to where they're just slightly softening. After you've softened up your carrots after those 1 or 2 minutes, this is when we're going to add in your rice. I'm adding in around 20 to 24 ounces worth of rice for this, but your mileage will vary depending on how much rice you really want to cook. I also added in a touch more oil to make sure that the rice got nice and crispy. After adding the rice and cooking it for 2 minutes and summoning Gandalf, I added my peas. And after cooking the peas for around 2 minutes, I added in all of my liquid, my mirin, my sake, and my Worcestershire. Make sure all of those sauces are fully combined into your rice, and this is when we're going to grab that absolutely beautifully tender barbacoa that we made earlier. The ratio I'm using is 1 part barbacoa to 3 part fried rice, and just a splash of that cooking liquid. You don't want to use too much liquid, otherwise you will saturate that rice and make it really wet. Make sure you wok this quite a bit more to make sure it's all nice and crispy. Give this beautifully cooked fried rice a taste. Understand that it does need more salt. Give it quite a few more wok-hays to make sure all of that salt is fully combined onto that rice. Kill the heat and then grab the world's cutest egg pan. We do need to cook off those eggs while we're plating up the rice since we only have 1 cute egg pan. Place your rice into your bowl of choice, crack the egg into that cute egg pan, and give it a good old flip, making sure that it is slightly cooked on the other side. You don't want to overcook that egg, you want it still nice and runny. Unveil your fried rice, carefully remove your egg and place it on top of your rice, garnish it with just a touch of green onions, and then I also added just a touch of my beef, just to make sure people knew it was there. And there is the Challenger's beautiful barbacoa fried rice with egg. Now we did have to plate up the other 2 at the same time to make sure all 3 of the gremlins were fed at once. So after plating up both of their portions, I was ready to go and serve this bad boy. I have all 3 fried rice ready. I'm gonna take them out to the monsters and see what they say. Hopefully they enjoy the fried rice. Okay. This is Matt's recipe. It's a barbacoa fried rice where the barbacoa is spiced with 5 spice, a little cinnamon, some chilies, and then it's braised in some beef broth. Then it's added to the fried rice, which has peas, carrots, ginger, Worcestershire, mirin, and sake, and then the fried egg with a little bit of green onion on top, and braised beef. Dig in.
Ooh.
Enjoy.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, that egg is nice.
It looks nice for like the 3 seconds before I went to eat it. Fudgesicles.
Well, that's delicious.
That's yummy.
It has peas in it.
Are you not a pea fan?
No.
Just swallow them.
That's so good though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely eat a not good for me amount of this.
That meat is delicious.
The barbacoa has a nice flavor.
But it's not overwhelming. Like I still get everything else.
It's all very complementary to each other.
Yes.
There's no flavor that
It's
overwhelms
very flattering.
one. It is
Everybody's
very
playing
flattering.
nicely.
The egg yolk melts into it really nice.
Oh,
Makes it creamy.
oh yeah.
Good? Good enough to finish?
Please.
Yes.
You're a monster though. We don't talk about you.
Needs a little bit more seasoning.
A little more seasoning?
Something.
In what way?
Maybe a little bit more salt.
I disagree.
I miss a little bit of brightness. Like these are all very Maybe it's just because everything goes so well together.
I disagree with both. I think this is a great fried rice because it's not too heavy. It's very
I have nothing against it. I would eat like 6 portions of this.
beautiful.
It needs a little bit of spice, I think. A little bit more.
Ooh, a little heat would be really good with
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
A little heat.
A little bit more heat, a little bit more seasoning. But no, it's really good.
Why does hers still look like that?
Because she's not a monster like you two. Well,
Because I'm OCD and I eat it correctly.
okay.
What do you mean correctly?
If you eat it correctly, it goes in your mouth.
I eat it like a pie. This is love.
It is really good, but it is like, it needs like
It needs something.
a pop,
Yeah.
right?
Here, do you want to try again?
Like it's fried rice with an egg. I don't know if there's any way to add like the brightness of a citrus but like spice would add something, just a little, an extra note because this is
It
all a
has-
very mellow flavor.
It has a
mellow
little
flavor.
bit of spice, but it just needs like
It almost,
I love-
it's almost like almost like comfort food style, right? Like it's super easy to eat.
You
It
want to
reminds
try
me
again?
of a chicken pot pie. Everything is just super mellow
Yeah.
and like it's like a hug.
Okay.
Maybe I want a hug with like a little at the end.
Thank you, ladies. Enjoy.
Are you actually thankful?
Scotch, 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 scotch.
Now for my tteokbokki. I think I nailed it that time. The first thing we'll want to do is start boiling all of our tteokbokki. After placing it in the water and removing the preserve bag because you don't need to cook that, give it a good stir, making sure that none of it starts sticking to the bottom or to itself. Once it comes up to a boil and floats to the surface, cook it for an additional 2 to 3 minutes or until soft, and then drain all of the liquid. Now I'm also going to be using this beautiful paella pan that I haven't actually used yet. Add in just a touch of oil to this, making sure it is evenly heated. Place it to the side and then grab the wok that you have freshly cleaned from the fried rice. Add some oil to that, making sure it gets ripping hot. Now while the wok is heating up, remove all of your tteokbokki from the strainer, place it onto your paella pan. Yes, this is probably sacrilege, but we're going with it. Use a spoon to help remove all of that from your strainer because it is very sticky, very similar to mochi, and make sure that your paella pan is only over around a medium heat. You don't want to start frying this too hard because you can dry these out. Hit this with just a touch more oil to make sure it is greased up and can move around pretty freely. You want to see that nice little sizzle on each of those mochi tteokbokkis. Give this a quick stir, trying to make sure that none of it is sticking too hard, and then unveil the beef. I am so proud of this beef that it actually came out. It's actually very tender. It came just, I am so happy that it actually worked. This makes me excited. Now use some of the grease that we have saved from the beef and place it directly over your tteokbokki. This is going to start frying them pretty hard and give it a ton of flavor. Grab a large portion of that beautifully braised beef, placing it right on top of all of that tteokbokki, and once you have it all locked and loaded, place that to the side, grab your rippin' hot wok, and place all of your sliced vegetables directly into the wok. This does overcrowd it a little bit, I will admit, but it's going to work out because we're not actually trying to cook these all the way through. I want to cook them just until everything is more or less al dente. This only takes around 3 or 4 minutes. After those 3 or 4 minutes, hit this with your ginger and your garlic. Continue to give this some wok hing, making sure that it does not overcook. I can't stress that enough because you want that textural difference. Season this with a good amount of salt and then give this a taste. This isn't going to get too many more things besides salt and some smoked soy sauce. After a second taste, and if it's to your liking, hit this with some sesame seeds. Place this to the side, dragging over your paella pan. Once you have your paella pan in view, dress this with a good amount of your vegetables. You aren't going to need all of it, but it's okay because I'll probably eat the rest for meal prep throughout the week. Now we're going to garnish this with a good amount of our cucumbers. The cucumbers and the acidity is going to eventually leak down into the rest of it and give it a ton of flavor. The radishes go placed onto the side, and there is my Korean barbacoa tteokbokki.
So first I'm gonna take them, the pickles. The pickles need to hit the table first. And then we'll take the real one. Oh God, it's hot. Okay, let me, hold on. Hold on.
This is all I needed.
Look at it, it's amazing. Oh. Okay, so this is my dish, and
Oh, wait, is that
this is Tteokbokki, which is a Korean dish, but it's made very differently. Usually it's like, what are you doing? You can't do this yet. Usually it's stewed in a sauce, but instead I use the braising liquid from the beef to cook. You know what? Just here. Let me just get you plates.
So the beef itself is marinated in gochujang, and this is the one that exploded. Abigail, don't die yet. Let me serve you first before you die.
Oh, my teeth still feel the fork.
Why did you
Maybe
bite
you
the
should need the
fork?
fork.
Ow.
Yeah, because I don't want it to go. With me drinking with the microphone on there.
Give me food, human.
Rachel's sipping the whiskey.
I'll make some money off.
All of the meat!
That's what
Eat some of it, and then I'll bring you the last portion.
Why is
of what's
Wait,
supposed
it's
to go.
not supposed to go with it?
Is there no rice?
No, there's no. That's rice cakes.
Those are
Why would
rice.
you-
That's the
That's the whole point. After eat the dish.
Oh, that's delicious.
Nom, nom, nom.
Oh.
This is too big of a bite.
Oh, well, mouth.
Oh.
That is the bite that I was talking about. That is the brightness.
Where's my torch?
I'm sorry, but this is the winner.
No,
It's
this is
not over yet.
I'm sorry. Okay, never mind.
okay, but this has like when I talked about needing brightness. This was what I was talking about. I needed a little something with a
Cucumber.
With the peppers and
A
the
little
spice
je ne
and the
sais quoi.
zucchini and the spice. So Paul is doing this right now with his little cat.
Perfect. I can't compare this with the fried rice because it's not fried rice.
That's true because
Well-
it's the barbacoa battle, not a fried rice battle.
The barbacoa on the other one was
wait,
very
wait,
good.
wait. Does that mean we get to have a fried rice battle?
It's a
But in the
barbacoa
future.
battle.
In the future, maybe.
Okay.
But the barbacoa on this one has a lot more flavor, a lot more spice. I feel like it has a lot more depth to it.
I will say, this one like melts in my mouth and it is absolutely delicious.
The
They may
other
look
one was
like-
delightful too.
The other one was absolutely delicious.
Are you
but it did
really
not melt
putting
in my mouth.
American cheese on my...
This is the way.
Is
You
this
can
American cheese?
Stay away with your American cheese.
You
Thank
get
you
one.
very much.
Put it on one. So wait, why did you give the one person who's not lactose intolerant?
She didn't want it. She doesn't want to try it. She doesn't want to experience it.
You're
I
burning my
hate
cheese.
American cheese with a passion. It's
No,
not
see?
real cheese.
No, I love cheese. I'm gonna die.
Try it.
But I
Here.
love it.
It's fine.
How do I peel it?
I can't get over how tender this meat is.
Which one? This is the one that exploded in the sous vide.
Well, you know what?
Wait. You gotta have. Wait, hold it.
Put it all. Put it all in his mouth.
I like it with the cheese.
I'm really having to control myself.
Oh, it's so spicy.
It is not spicy.
It is when you.
When you snort it. You're not supposed to snort it.
So, although both dishes were very, very good,
They were very different.
very different,
Both delicious.
both delightful,
Both delicious.
both of the barbacoas were very good, very tender, had a lot of flavor. However, my vote, I cannot speak for these two ladies, is Paul's dish. And I'm not saying that because he's my husband, but I'm saying that because it has a lot more brightness, a lot more flavor, a lot more spice. I like spicy. I don't know, I felt like it was really good.
Stop that right now.
This dish had what I was really looking for in the first dish, which totally ticked every box for me. I loved the fried rice, the egg on top, it was a great touch. But I just wanted a little bit of sharpness and brightness, and the meat just had a little bit more of a kick with the cucumber and the radishes. Everything just popped a little bit more for me, and
You're the
we're leaving it
tiebreaker.
up to her.
They were both extremely good. The one I could eat multiple and multiple and multiple plates of was definitely the first one. However, I would choose Paul's dish because, sort of like what Margaret said, I really loved the vegetables. I really loved the cucumbers. I really loved whatever that was. I missed that because I've had way
radish.
too. I loved the radish. I loved it all so much. This one, it seems more all together in terms of what I would want for a dish. Therefore, I choose this one. However, like I said, if I wanted to eat my heart away, I would choose the first one because that one was absolutely delicious and I could have not been disappointed by that one.
I think I would take the second
whatsoever.
one as like leftovers for the next week. I would continue to live off of that for the next week, hands down.
The second one or the first one?
The first one.
The first one.
first
The
one,
first
sorry.
one.
That was like
That
a
one was so good.
perfect fried rice.
Yeah,
It was a perfect fried rice.
like
But
all around. It was delightful.
Not heavy, which is a problem I have. But
that was like probably one of my favorite fried rices I've ever had. And that's saying something because I've had a lot of fried rice. But in terms of dishes, I would choose this one. I also really love the rice cakes.
Yes, the
The rice
rice
cakes are such
finger
a
things.
wonderful choice.
Are they rice cakes?
They're rice cakes, right, Paul?
Yes.
I don't know, rice fingers. I'm
they
calling it rice
may
fingers.
look like packing peanuts, but they taste like heaven.
Thanks, ladies. Enjoy the rest of your dinner.
Thanks to Matt for submitting his recipe and for winning that brand new knife. I'll get that sent out to you. If you guys want to submit your recipes to be part of this future challenge, this is going to be for March. Now, I have been thinking about this, and we have to have a very specific ingredient. What should be the ingredient for March?
Yuzu.
Ooh, I like yuzu. We're gonna have a yuzu battle for March. Margaret basically just said yuzu. That's gonna be phenomenal. I think it's a great addition to anything, and trying to have it be a main component is going to be a challenge. If you guys want to figure out how to submit your recipes, check out the link below. Anyone could submit them, yes, worldwide, and for my friends overseas, we have special gifts for you guys as well. This entire series is sponsored by you guys and CHEFPK.com, so if you want to help out the channel directly, head over to CHEFPK.com and pick up one of these really cool shirts. I just added a bunch of them to the shop. Otherwise, check out Patreon, where you can get exclusive content 24 hours early and part of our podcast, which is brand new and linked down below. My name is Chef PK. Get subscribed. Remember, keep playing with your food. Oh, there's spice in the air.